Hello and welcome to our webinar on how to improve employability within STEM. I'm Savina Baines, the Graduate Training Scheme Manager here at Reed. So this webinar has been created to ensure that we can help you to boost your employability when entering the job market. Research suggests that there's an imbalance between what graduates think that employers are looking for when they start work and what employers are actually looking for from their graduates. To address this gap, we at Reed have decided to produce a webinar to help bridge this gap. So just to explain Reed in a bit more detail, we are one of the UK's leading recruitment agencies and celebrated our 60th anniversary last year. We're a national business with offices across the UK and some in Europe as well. Whilst we are a large business, we have individual teams that make up different specialisms, including those within the STEM sector. This allows us to have in-depth knowledge of individual industries. Now, to help me to go into a bit more detail within the STEM sector, I'm going to introduce our industry panel as well. So just to start, I have Stuart Nunn.
Hi, my name's Stuart Nunn. I'm the area manager for Reed Scientific in the Cambridge area. As I say, we specialise with scientific recruitment within Cambridge and East Anglia. I've worked for Reed myself and within the scientific market for approximately 9 years now.
We have Kimberly.
Hi, I'm Kimberly. I'm the area manager for Essex Engineering. So I cover all engineering manufacturing roles, covering a geographical area of Essex. We have been working in manufacture for about 8 years in Essex, and I have been there for 5 years.
And finally, we have Taha.
Hi everyone, I'm Taha Esmail. I'm Regional Director for Reed Technology. So I've been working for Reed for coming up to 11 years now, and before that I'm a computer science graduate and I used to work within IT as well, so I kind of know the boat you guys are sitting in. Within Reed Technology we cover everything from graduate roles to senior level director roles as well, so hopefully we can give you some insights into how we can help you going forward.
So thank you very much for all of you for joining us today. So STEM is something that's quite well known in an educational aspect, but in terms of maybe recruitment or in the job market, it's maybe not so well known. So what does STEM mean for you as recruiters?
Okay, thanks, Savina. So STEM for us means quite a lot, really, and it goes into different things, which I'll try to explain. Obviously, the first thing, obviously, STEM is broke down into scientific, technology, engineering, and the mathematics markets. However, for us, it means a lot more. And what STEM actually means for me is how we target skilled candidates from the key STEM sectors, from the leading academic institutions around the UK. And further afield, how we can then support these candidates through their careers, identifying the close links between the different STEM subjects, because we realise how they are very interlinked. They don't necessarily stand as 4 standalone subjects. We're looking at the importance of the STEM candidates will play within these markets, both currently and in the future, particularly in areas such as drug discovery. It's helping these STEM candidates with their career, both currently and in the future, preparing them for it as well. And also really just to understand really that the STEM is an ongoing process really. The continued advancements and developments within R&D and technology in the future is obviously something that we utilise and we use the STEM candidates for both now and in the future.
Taha, Kimberly, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
Yeah, I agree with what Stuart's saying, that you know, when candidates go down a certain field, doesn't mean that they only have to stay in that track, and that there might be opportunities for them to cross over into different markets, from scientific to manufacturing. There will be opportunities for their skill set to be utilised in different areas.
Thank
you.
you.
I completely agree with what you've both said there. I think STEM's such an important topic, and it's so important for the future. It definitely all interlinks, and just technology at the minute is advancing every day. There's new things coming out every day. There's AI now, which is changing the world as we live in. So yeah, it's such an important subject, and I think it's definitely something that's going to be getting more and more importance as time goes on.
Yeah, definitely. So you all have experience in different areas in recruitment, but what's Reed's experience within STEM as a collective?
I think that you know, whilst we're all a collective, the reason that we are split into specialisms is that we can really support candidates in, whilst it's still a big area that we look after in each of our specialisms, that we can be very specific within those bigger sectors, which enables us to support candidates with really getting to understand how their career path is going to look, how they want it to shape up, how they want it to develop, and we can help them with those milestones and goals for when they are looking for a progression or career path, that we get a really solid understanding of our markets and our candidates and how they can progress their career in whichever field that they choose.
Stuart, Taha, do you have anything to add to this?
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I mean, Reed have been around for a long time, been around for 60 years, and with the 20 specialisms that we've got, it's so key that we're able to interlink with each other, like Kimberly said, but also we've got our each specialist area. So we're not trying to say we know everything in detail, but we've got technology recruiters, engineering recruiters, scientific recruiters who know their markets inside out. So I think we can really help with graduates who are looking to get a career within STEM, not only get that interlinked part, which is really important, but also that specialist part within that we recruit for as well. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, and I think just to add from that, I know I'm coming from more of a scientific perspective, is because yes, we recruit for scientific candidates, but we break it down even further. So we realise how diverse the scientific market is, for example, and to understand or to have someone understanding every market within scientific is nigh on impossible. So we even break it down further that our consultants will specialise in biotechnology, for example, or the pharmaceutical sectors, or even food science. So it's really drilling it down as well that our consultants have that knowledge and have that capability to help and support both you, your candidates, when you're looking for a position, but also the client base that we have as well.
Thank you very much. So most of our audience watching will either be recent graduates or will be students that are soon to graduate. So what is our experience with working with STEM graduate roles in particular?
Yes, I can sort of take this one. Because like I said earlier, we're specialising within them individual sectors, and all of the sectors cover everything from graduates to senior level recruitment. And just like Stuart just said, within scientific, they're broken down into further niches. We are as well in technology. So if you're looking for a career in software development, then we can help you get within a graduate role within software development and then work your way forward, or testing or MIBI, so whichever one it might be. I think we've got lots of experience of attending careers fairs. We've got lots of experience within CV preparation, interview preparation. I think just within this room, we've probably got around 30-40 years worth of recruitment experience, and that's just within this room. So we've got a lot of experience helping people go from graduate roles into senior level roles. So I think there's lots of areas where we can help you develop and help you get to the career choice you want, really.
Sorry, I was just going to say, has anyone got anything to add to that?
Yeah, just as a specific example, really, for ourselves within the scientific division and Cambridge in particular. Obviously, at the moment, we're in a very unnatural situation in terms of what's going on around us. However, a success story which we've had in Cambridge is between September and January of this year, so 4 months obviously during the sort of peak times of the COVID pandemic, we've managed to place 100+ life science candidates into a cancer research organisation who are carrying out various testing. But it's just to show, obviously, that even at the moment, in a troubled market, we're still finding very good opportunities for the graduate level candidates looking for work.
That's good to hear. Kimberly, was there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, I was just going to really back up pretty much what Stuart was saying. That it has been, there has been challenges in the last 12 months, no doubt. But the one thing we have seen from an engineering perspective is manufacturing has continued to grow. Most of our roles have now become more important because they are still focused on recruiting at the moment and still trying to move that market forward. And it's quite an exciting area for people going into engineering at the moment.
Yeah, definitely. So just to move the conversation on slightly, there's a lot of content that has been posted, especially with the current climate, that discusses the difficulties of graduates, especially when they're looking for work. So this is in STEM as well as other disciplines. So as recruiters with a bit of inside knowledge into this, let's talk about the recruitment process and how to maybe make it slightly easier for our graduates watching today. So just to start at the beginning, Taha, is there any hints or tips that you want to share about how to make our CVs or applications stand out?
Yeah, definitely. I think first and foremost, I think just be honest on your CV. Go through the skills that you've got and be very honest and upfront of what skills you think you possess. I think the layout of the CV is very important. It's got to be precise. It's got to be to the point and not too much detail. I think they say 1 or 2 pages is probably the maximum you want a CV to be. I see James Reed has written a book. It's quite great. It's quite a good book. It's quite a good read actually. I definitely recommend it. It's the 7-second CV, and in that the book is all about when a prospective client or a prospective employer is looking at a CV, they look at it for 7 seconds and then they're making a decision whether they want to proceed with that candidate or not. And as recruiters, we're looking at hundreds of CVs every day. So if we've got a CV which is 15 pages, we're not going to read that CV in much detail. So be as precise, be as accurate as you can. I'm a big believer of skills matrices as well at the top of the CV. When someone's flicking through your CV, they want to see exactly what skills you possess. So having a skills matrix at the top of your CV is really important. And I think the standout CVs that I've seen in my career is every single CV has the job that you're working at, your next job, your previous job, your previous job, your previous job. But I think where CVs have stood out is where people have put testimonials within their CVs as well after each job, and the reason for leaving. It just shows that where you've worked, you've done a good job. There's someone that's willing to put their name next to the performance that you've put within that place as well. So I think having a testimonial on a CV is very important and quite powerful as well.
Yeah, I'd agree, Taha, with a lot of what you've said there. But one thing I would certainly say in relation to CVs and applications is make them individual and make them relevant to what you're actually applying for. It may sound a silly thing to say, but the amount of times we see CVs where someone has applied for a role and they haven't changed the introduction, where they're actually applying, or according to the CV, they're applying for a different role with a different company to what they're actually applying for. It seems very simple and very obvious, but make sure that they is tailored towards what you're actually applying for. A second thing I'd probably add to that as well is, and from the scientific side of things, is a lot of clients actually look back past the degrees now as well. So they will look at your academic qualifications at A-level and GCSE, and actually will want to see what grades and things you've got sort of going back as well. It's a very competitive market for candidates at the moment. So they were always looking for ways to sort of find candidates who stand out from others.
Was there anything you wanted to add, Kimberly?
Yeah, I agree with both Stuart and Taha. I think testimonials, I would say, are a great asset, especially if you're a graduate looking to break into a market and you're not sure how you can prove any kind of track record if you're straight out of university. I had a lad who applied for a role, and he'd got testimonials from his professors, which went to vouch for his work ethics, and it was a really good showcase. The way he put something together, it was really nicely done and eye-catching, and that's what you want to attract, the best roles in the market.
Thank you for sharing. So now you've made us experts in our applications or our CVs. And let's imagine we've been shortlisted for an interview. Stuart, what would a usual interview format look like, and what questions would be asked?
Well, pre-COVID, the majority of interviews that you'd have gone on would have been face-to-face and on site, where you'd actually been meeting with the person who is interviewing you. Since the outbreak of COVID, this has changed dramatically. The majority of interviews that we see these days are sort of done online via sort of Teams or Skype or Zoom. So it's a different style of interview, but the questions that will be asked will remain the same. We always will look to prepare candidates in 3 or 4 key areas, and this is quite sort of standalone really, in that you'll always be asked questions in these areas. Firstly, you'll be asked about your experiences and your CV. So please read your CV prior to interview, know what's on it, because it's the CV that's got you the interview, so they will ask you questions on it. You'll be asked about the job, so please read the job description and understand the best you can what the job is about. Now, you may not understand it fully, which will prompt areas where you can question the interviewers about the job, but make sure you've read through it. We'd also make sure that you've read through the company website, so have a bit of an idea and understanding of who they are and what they do. Again, by no means do they expect you to be an expert, but they would expect you to have had a look so that you can prove and show your interest in the role. And one other area we'll also tell people to do is have a look at who's interviewing you, and you can do this via LinkedIn. It's always good to potentially find a little bit of common ground prior to the interview. You might find that they studied at the same university as you, or you previously worked at the same place. So there could be little icebreakers there that you could use, obviously, within the interview, obviously, because we appreciate they're very nervy processes. Additionally, within the interviews, they will vary from company to company. You may be asked to do a presentation, for which case, if you are, obviously we'll find out the content or the topic and make sure that you're prepared in that area. If you go on site for an interview, quite likely will involve a tour of the premises as well. Obviously, just to show you where you'll be working and to give you a bit of an idea in terms of the working environment. Interviews may vary slightly. As I say, previously you may have had an on-site interview with a telephone call as well. But as I say, since COVID, they have changed towards a more online process.
And Taha, Kimberly, how does that differ in the technical or engineering markets?
In engineering, we are seeing some Zoom and Teams interviews, but I mean, manufacturing is very much site-based, so a lot of the roles that we're dealing with have still involved an on-site visit for those. And I think pretty much everything that Stuart said, I agree with. Show some interest, show that you're interested in the company, that you've taken the time to look at some history about them, that you have a good understanding of what they are about, so that you've shown that interest. There's nothing worse than turning up unprepared, not knowing what the company is involved with, I suppose that failing to plan, so to be as prepared as you can be.
Yeah, I definitely agree with all of them points made, really. I guess the little things I'd add is with technology and with COVID, the world's changed at the minute. I'd say sort of different to engineering. I'd say 99% of the tech interviews are done online now, especially in this environment. I'm sure it will go back to face-to-face at some point, hopefully. But right now it is done online. So just check your surroundings, make sure that there's nothing inappropriate in the video. But the main thing is just test your connection and test your internet connectivity. There's been a lot of times, especially at the beginning of COVID, when this was all new, a lot of people's interviews didn't take place because the internet wasn't strong enough, the connection wasn't strong enough. So if your connection at home isn't strong enough, maybe you can try and sit outside and use it on your phone, or try and find a public place to try and take part in the interview. But just make sure you test your connection and check your surroundings beforehand, and don't be afraid to ask questions. Either pre-interview, if it's an agency, ask questions like, what's the format of the interview, what can I expect? But after the interview, make sure you've got a list of questions prepared for the interviewer as well, because that just shows that you're interested in the role and you've done a little bit of pre-work, like Kimberly and Stuart said as well.
Thank you. So Kimberly, within these interviews, what is it that employers are really looking for, and how can our graduates best prepare for them?
I think they're looking for people with a passion for what they've studied in. We are massively skill short in engineering, so candidates, they can be specific of the field they want to be in. So engineering for manufacture does still cover quite a broad spectrum, but there's lots of areas in there that they can choose to roads they can choose to go down. So I think if you've got a clear idea of what you want to do, and then you can show that passion and drive for that, that's what the employers are looking for. They're looking for those passionate people that want to come in and really develop and learn and absorb and apply what they've learnt, to assist the business moving in whichever direction that they want to go in.
Yeah, definitely. Is there any differences in scientific or technology?
Not really. I think I'd agree with mostly what Kimberly said. Key things that they are looking for, they're looking for candidates to stand out, and probably this is one thing I should really say. As we mentioned before, it is a competitive market, and you will be competing against your friends and colleagues from the courses that you're studying on at the moment, and at the moment you just have to make sure that your application or your interview that you're doing stands you above the others. And as I say, in order to do that, you'd have done the additional research, you'd have done the additional preparation and things to make sure that for when you actually are in that interview, that you're ready for it and you can perform the best you can.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah. Social media. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I think just echoing on what they've just said. I think it's very nerve-wracking going on an interview. It definitely is for everyone. But the more preparation you do, the more confident you'll be in the interview, and that confidence will come across once you've done your preparation. So I think, yeah, just like Kimberly and Stuart said, just preparation is key, and just make yourself stand out.
Just to add one final point on that as well. I mean, I'm sure the other teams do it as well, but in the scientific team, we put a lot of focus on interview preparation, and what that will involve as well is the consultants that we have in our team will help you and support you through the process. So we are open and we can help prior to interview, have a chat with you. As I say, we can check that your internet connections are working, that everything works well for the call that you're going to do. But we can do some sort of run through some dummy questions and things with you as well, just to give you that little extra confidence for when you go into the interview, because as Taha rightly says, it's a very nervy experience. So anything that we can do to try and ease those nerves a little bit, we will do to help.
Thank you very much. So social media is something that has become a large part of everyday life, and I'm sure that most of our audience is on some sort of social media. So just to come to you, Taha, as our technical expert, how can our graduates best utilise social media to boost their employability?
This is a really interesting one. we've had lots of clients nowadays are Googling candidates as well. So everything you put out there on social media is open for everyone to see. So I'd just say just make sure you're happy with everything that's out there on all the different platforms that you've signed up to. The main platform that clients use and prospective employees use is LinkedIn. So just make sure you try and be as active as possible on there. Share as many articles that you find interesting on there, write as many blogs as you can, like and follow as many people as you can as well. Because if you make yourself stand out on there, people will notice. And if you've got an interview or you're applying for somewhere, make sure you follow that organisation, try and look at the types of people that work there, because that will give you a good idea of the culture of the place. So yeah, it's definitely important to be active on LinkedIn, especially when you're looking for a new role. So, when employers are looking at your CV and looking at who they're interviewing, they will look on LinkedIn to see what your profile looks like, see how active you've been, what type of stuff you've been liking, what type of stuff you've been sharing as well. But yeah, it's definitely important to be active on social media, and particularly if you're looking for a role, then particularly within LinkedIn.
So Kimberly, Taha's just discussed LinkedIn. Is this the preferred platform that we should utilise? Or can we use a range of social media for points of entry?
Yeah, mostly LinkedIn is the preferred site for engineering candidates, and you know it is a really good platform to use on there, and that's where you know most traction, I suppose, for business is taking place. You know, and pretty much echoing what Stuart said, you know, is make sure if you know you are active on any other social media that what you put out there is professional. You know, that people are going to look at things on there, and you know, if you're looking for a professional role, you want to make sure that your profile comes across for the role that you want.
And Stuart, just touching on both what Taha and Kimberly have just said, obviously we are advised to have a look over our social media and check whether it's suitable content that is shared on there. To what extent should we consider our employers will look at social media, and which social media will they look at?
Well, we're finding more and more that clients will review your LinkedIn profile prior to interview. It's almost becoming habit now, and it's something we advise the candidates to do for the people who will be interviewing them. So we kind of understand it's going to be a two-way process. My advice would be for your LinkedIn profile in particular is make sure it's professional. Make sure it reflects what's on your CV as well. Something that you wouldn't want there is for one profile to say one thing and your CV to say something totally different. They do need to work alongside each other. But as I say, your LinkedIn profiles are certainly getting reviewed. I'm aware of the tales where clients apparently have looked at Facebook profiles or Instagram profiles. I can't say that I've come across that in my own experience, but for advice in those areas, I would certainly say everybody has a private life or a personal life. If you want that to remain private, sites such as as Facebook or Instagram, they have privacy settings. So if you don't want people to review them, make sure that you've got your privacy settings on your personal site so that only your close network can actually review them. Probably talking about LinkedIn a little bit more is LinkedIn is actually a source where people will look to source candidates from as well. So we talk about the importance of having an up-to-date LinkedIn profile. Recruiters like ourselves will use LinkedIn to source candidates, as will clients themselves if they're recruiting directly themselves. So having that up-to-date profile is certainly going to help you in the job market.
Thank you very much. So just before we leave today's conversation, what I'd like to get from each of you is your take-home top tips for our graduates. So just to start with, Kimberly, what's your take-home tip?
I would say preparation is key, but also when you are deciding what path you want to take, have a really good think about that, so you are committed to the route that you want to go down, and that's how, you know, for us as recruiters can best support you. But yeah, preparation, be prepared.
Thank you. Stuart?
Following on from Kimberly, really, as I talked about in terms of the interview stage earlier, the key thing is once you've got to an interview, that's the important stage. Is make sure you've done the basic preparation, make sure you've looked at who's interviewing, make sure you've looked at the job description, make sure you know about the company as well. They're very basic tips, but lots of candidates come unstuck pretty quickly if they haven't done that. And so that would be the crucial thing that I would say to take away.
Thank you. And finally, Taha?
Yeah, they're definitely important things that Kimberly and Stuart has mentioned. I'd say probably one of my top tips is make sure you network. So LinkedIn's a great platform for you to network on and meet new people and communicate with people that you don't know, but also meetup and webinars. Make sure you attend as many of them as possible. Meetups are great, especially within technology, because you get to talk to people, you get to listen to people, you get to meet new people who you wouldn't have met before and who've got a common interest as you as well. And if you go on there and you come across well and you're active and you're partaking in these actively, then it's going to put yourself out there as well, and people will notice. So I think one of the things that everyone can do is network and try and put yourself in control of your career and put yourself where you want to go to.
Well, thank you very much for sharing those tips and going through all of this in a bit more detail. Thank you very much, everyone, for taking part, and I hope everyone watching, it was useful information for you. Enjoy the rest of your day, and I hope that we will work with you in the future. Thanks.